This is Python's Paradise. This is your host, Greg Gilbert, aka the Python Hyena. And folks, here we are out of Fredericton, New Brunswick, Canada, here on Labor Day, September 6, 2021. And our station I'm affiliated with, CHSR, is a knock on wood about to reopen. And so I'll be to get back in there and be to play these on the air. But in the meantime, I got this, and this is awesome. Zoom, whoever created Zoom deserves a medal. Because boy, has that been a saver. That's been a saver in so many ways. Well, I have a guest on at this time that I've tried to book for a few months now, but in the meantime, she's been sending me guests, musical guests like Paul Literal and the Take Two band of Brent Butterworth and Ron Sider.
Yep.
So but I know her best from a film that's celebrating its 35th anniversary, Sorority House Massacre. I almost said Slumber Party Massacre. There are so many of these movies that just have these interchangeable titles. It's like one of those. It's like one of those action figures, you know, you can put all parts on, you know, and form something. Folks, I give you the heroine of that film, Angela O'Neill. How do you do, Angela?
It is me. How do you do?
Yes, absolutely. You still having nightmares about your brother breaking out of asylum?
No, I never did actually. It was all so fast. I mean, I was still going to UCLA's acting program.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what year that got released. I think we figured it out.
1986.
1986, right. So I was actually attending college at that time. And I went for an interview just randomly because, you know, I wanted to pursue an acting career, acting and music. And in the meantime, I saw an ad for a movie, and it actually did not mention that it was a horror movie. Mm-hmm. It kind of told the story, which is actually kind of standalone. And the reason there are so many, what's the word? Kind of sounding like names is because this is actually the first one that had a real story that you could follow about kind of a family connection, a haunting in the house. It wasn't actually just random people killing each other. And so there were a lot of movies after that because this was 1986. I think it predates Slumber Party Massacre and all the rest of those.
No, Slumber Party Massacre came out in 82.
Oh, did it? I didn't know that. Did not know that. Well, that's weird that they had a very similar name then. I think they were all made by Roger Corman. I'm not sure about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I went in and I found out when I got to the interview that it was like a slasher movie, and I was like, well, I don't want to star in a slasher movie. And I was like, okay, so in those movies, I think the most important thing you can do is scream. And being a singer, I was thinking, well, I could do that. That's no problem. So, you know, when you go to an audition, what happens is they hand you like a 3 or 4 page scene and you read through it and you kind of like imagine an approach, you know, that will kind of catch the eye of the producers and the casting people. So I was like, okay, I read through and I was like, all right. And here's the area I'm going to scream really loud. And just out of nowhere, I was in the middle, like page 2 of my audition, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I just let out the most like spine curdling scream. I terrified everybody in the room. I remember it was a big high ceilinged room somewhere in Sunset Hollywood, and it actually scared me. It was so incredibly loud. And then I finished the scene like nothing had happened. I mean, it was appropriate for the scene. I don't remember which scene it was, but and the producers were like, okay. And I guess they were impressed with my scream because they called me back or called my agent back and said, we want to hire her. So that's how I ended up in Sorority House Massacre. It was really super random. My agent didn't put me up for it. I found it because it was a non-union feature. I found it in a trade paper and kind of pursued it absolutely by chance. And I think we shot the whole thing in maybe like 14 days, something like that. in East Los Angeles. I remember exactly where it was, a house, like one of those big Victorian style houses, or, you know, it looked like a sorority house, obviously, east of or south of Venice Boulevard in Los Angeles. And actually, during one of the night shoots, I will say, cops and automatic weapons went shooting down our street in the middle. We did have to stop for that. In the middle of the street, it was not a great area to shoot in. But anyway, that's how I ended up being cast in Sorority House Massacre, really by chance, not by purpose.
Talk about that rockin' haircut you had in the movie.
Okay, I always had hair kind of this length when I was growing up, and I can't remember. I think one summer I was working for my sister, training horses, and it was so hot. And I turned to a gal who was working with my sister, and I said, "Okay, my hair is too hot. I want to cut it all off." And she was a hairdresser, and she said, "Really, all of it?" I said, "Yeah, I'm serious, all of it." And she literally got shavers and went just like hair this length, and there was just this length of hair on the ground, and I was super happy. I was like, "Oh, so cool, that's nice." So yeah, that's the story of the rockin' haircut. Roxanne Talbot in Northern California, where I'm from in Calistoga, just randomly cut my hair one summer day when it was too hot.
Just I'm gonna go on the IMDb here because I need to
Take a look, see.
look the credit for this movie.
Yeah.
Now, this film was directed by Carol Frank. Now, this is interesting because Slumber Party Massacre had a female director as well.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yep. And they often say these movies are detrimental to females and make blah, 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 blah. Yet you always have a female surviving it. And with the exception of the burning, of course.
I think the thinking is, I think it's a little more complex than that. I think it is actually that the women in the female characters in the cast who have sex get killed.
I think yours was just thinking about it. I think you're allowed to think about it.
If you think about it, you're dead. If you're if you're a lovely virginal girl, you get to live. I think that's what actually the pattern is, not just that it's completely sexist, which it probably is. But yeah, I think the idea is like the people who don't, we don't know that they have sex, at least in our show, that's absolutely true.
Wasn't the case of Black Christmas.
I didn't watch Black Christmas. I'm saying for Sorority House Massacre, that's all I can.
Olivia Hussey was pregnant and was going to have an abortion, and
she got to live. Unbelievable.
She got to live. I love Black Christmas, the original, not those crappy ones that came after it. But I like the first one. It was shot here in Canada.
Yeah.
But anyway, nonetheless, talk about your sorority sisters, the ones that put up with all your tangents.
Oh, my tangents?
They still let you hang out with them, even though you were having all the outbreaks.
Oh, I see. You're talking about within the context of the script.
Yeah.
The nightmares that I was having is I gotcha. So my character, it's funny. It was, we all ended up kind of, because it was like a 14-day shooting schedule. We all ended up kind of like, I don't know, almost living in the house that we were shooting in, because we were there for 20 hours anyway. And Carol Frank was the director, and Ron Diamond, I think, was the producer, writer. And I think Carol wrote it as well, if I'm not wrong. And there was Wendy Martell was kind of the blonde gal who lived almost to the very end. Mm-hmm. And then Pamela Ross was another gal I was really close with. I was close with her for a decade after we did that movie. Nicole Rio actually is still out and about in Los Angeles, still doing the acting gig. And I run into her every once in a while. They did a screening of the show probably like 6 years ago at Beverly Cinema. And we all showed up there, and that was pretty funny. Mm-hmm. But yeah, we all ended up kind of, hanging out together and being close, just because we were kind of stuck in that house 20 hours a day shooting. Mark Rashofsky, I believe his last name was the director of photography, and he ended up getting really rich and famous. And actually, it's shot really well, I think, the movie. So yeah, we ended up being close, and about I don't know, probably 5 out of the cast ended up having a career in acting. who I'm still kind of in touch with. Facebook is really useful that way and stuff like that.
Oh
So
yeah.
yeah.
Oh yeah. So were you there when any of the death scenes were shot? Like, did you see any of the makeup process or anything like that?
Uh, yes, I don't think we ever left when we weren't shooting. I think they just kept everybody there. They weren't quite organized enough to know that they were going to shoot, in a particular order or whatever. So that's what I'm saying. We all just kind of lived there, and then they'd be all, hey, Angela, or hey, Pam, or come on out and do a scene that we haven't talked to you about. So I'm trying to remember. I remember thinking the Nicole Rio one, which is where they were in the tent. Uh,
The
do you want me to
teepee.
the TP, I'm sorry, the TP. That was like the silliest. I mean, I think it was, if I remember right, because as you know, I've gone forward in my life and actually done props now. So if I remember right, what that was that she was in the TP, and he approached, and I think they did something like, if I remember right, and honestly, I wasn't super hip to the technology then, but I think it was like she had a sponge or something that was filled with blood, and they used a retractable knife, and I think that if I remember right, they did it like right between her boobs, again with the sexism. And I think that's the way that they did that one. The ones that took so much time that actually don't take very much screen time were the ones, they were flashbacks, a lot of them, but the dripping blood from the ceiling and that stuff, while the little, there was lots of dripping blood stuff everywhere, and they only used maybe half of the ones that we did. And I mean, how it is on the smaller shows. They don't really do the stunt or the blood stuff until the very last part of the shot. They'll run the whole scene or whatever, and then you get to that one point where the knife or whatever happens, and they do that just as a specialty shot. So yeah, all of it was as small and cheap as it could possibly be, basically.
Well, I watched this film recently, and it's interesting where your career has gone since. We need to talk about the guy who played your brother in the film, of course.
Okay.
Does he not get invited over to family reunions anymore?
Exactly. You know what? Actually, I didn't end up. I mean, it was all so crazy, shooting so fast, and of course, we didn't know each other. We didn't have rehearsals, anything like that. So
Of
the
course, you
cast
didn't
was,
know each other.
well, you know what I mean. I mean, a lot of times actors know each other outside of a movie, and so yeah. But on this particular one, we were all so young. I hadn't been around town. I hadn't been a kid actor. That was like the first thing I had ever acted in. Actually, I had never been hired on a movie before. So everybody kind of split and went their own ways at the end of the movie. And he actually did a lot of his things by himself. If you think about the structure of the movie, we did a lot of stuff with the mental hospital with him, a lot of him looming outside, looking scary. And really the only scene that he and I had together was the one where he tried to kill me. So really he wasn't on set with the rest of the group a lot of the time, because his stuff was kind of separate from the group, either outside the house and we weren't pictured,
Mhm.
or however that went. But yeah, he was a great guy, really talented. Ended up, I think he may have passed away now. I vaguely remember hearing that from Nicole. But he actually went on to do quite a few other things, in his acting career. So yeah, he was awesome guy, really nice. Even though he tried to kill me, I've forgiven him. He didn't succeed, so it all came out okay.
There you go. Well, the film is celebrating its 35th anniversary. What do you think about that?
You know what? I'm so, what a stroke of luck. I mean, honestly, for being a UCLA student, really not being out on auditions as yet. I had just booked an agent very recently, like within the last few months before I started that random search for going out on calls. I mean, honestly, I, I'm not a fan, like I said, particularly of this type of movie.
Why
But I,
not?
but I, uh, there's a lot of reasons. Um, but look, I feel so lucky to
Hmm.
have taken part in this movie. It ended up being having a much more cogent kind of narrative than a lot of them do. There was actually a story. I have watched some other movies of this type, and not so much, really doesn't really follow as well. So I'm really grateful to have worked with Carol and with Ron and the cast that I did. Like I say, I ended up being really good friends with all of them. It can't, it seems impossible for it to be the 35-year anniversary. I kept on acting myself for another 10 years or 15 years after I did this movie, since it was my first project. And it seems like so long ago. There's so much that I've done since then. So I'm just grateful. That's how I end up feeling. I end up feeling grateful that I went in there and I randomly screamed my head off and they hired me.
Well, do you ever get to do the convention scenes?
I never have, because honestly, it was a surprise to me to find out that there was a following for this movie. It,
Hmm.
it actually, Roger Corman's company reached out to me maybe 20 years ago and said, "Oh, we want to interview you because the movie has sold into so many markets." And I frankly had no idea. Um, so I didn't know that it had a cult following. Other than, and then a couple of folks on Facebook actually reached out to me and said, "Hey, we're part of your Facebook fan club, and we wonder if blah blah blah." And I was like, "What? What are you talking about?" So it was all a surprise to me, honestly, that it had a following still, or that it was kind of. And then I realized that it was on Netflix and it was kind of still floating around. And again, I guess lucky me.
Hmm. Uh-huh. Well, let's move on to one of your other films. I'm going to talk about some of the ones that you acted in.
Okay.
Alien Nation, you had James Caan, Mandy Patinkin, Terrence Stamp, Peter Jason. You were in good company in that film.
Yes. Actually, I really enjoyed working on that movie. It was like the first kind of big movie. In fact, that got me into SAG, working in that movie. It was the first big movie that I had really worked on, and it was so exciting to be on that set. I just remember being in my little trailer and just being like, "Oh my god, I'm so nervous." I actually played the part of James Caan's daughter, who marries Mandy Patinkin. Is that right? Or Mandy
Yep.
Patinkin? Yes, at the end. Um, and I've never been married, so I always say that's the one and only time I've ever been married.
I've never
Was
been married either, I kind of like being single.
Well, I guess I do too.
Yep.
So anyway, got the wedding dress and the whole, 9 yards. That was kind of so surreal to come in on a big movie like that and get a wedding dress fitting and meet James Caan. And as it turned out, strangely, I ended up working with James Caan like 3 or 4 more times in my propping career. So
Hmm.
it's just such a small world. Anyway, I really enjoyed it. It was a huge. I believe we shot on Pico. There is a huge Catholic church, and I remember it's just incredibly dramatic, this church, and just looking up and the all how beautiful everything was dressed. And yeah, it was just a really enchanting experience to work on such a big movie with a bunch of movie stars. And yeah, it was real. James Caan is very, he's very New York, but he's very sweet. He's like, "Hey, you're my new daughter, okay." So you got to love him. Manny Patinkin's, a theater trained, like very, classy kind of guy. And so yeah, it was a really exciting experience. I was so pleased and really kind of awed by the whole experience, for sure.
And then you have Grandma's House with Kim Valentine and Brink Stevens. I've never had Brink on here, but of course she was in Slumber Party Massacre. She was in maybe two, maybe three films I'm involved with James Balsamo.
Right.
So, but I've never met her, but we are connected in those ways. She turned me down when I tried to get her on here. What can I say? But what were your memories of Grandma's House?
I remember getting cast in that, and actually, that was the casting director, I think, who also was the one I ended up living, flying to after Grandma's house, flying to, and then living in South Africa for about 10 years,
Hmm.
and doing the acting gig over there while I was living there. And it was the St. Kevin Albert, I think. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I pulled that name out. It was, I think, the casting director on Grandmother's House. And from what I remember of it, that house that we shot at, I played, I think, Kim Valentine's like best friend, like
Hmm.
the sidekick friend. And I just remember driving and driving and driving and driving somewhere very far east in Riverside County. It was blisteringly hot. I think there were actually no trailers for that one. I think we were like living out of our cars. It was extremely low budget, and I just remember going out. I did a couple scenes with her. Everybody was super super nice, and I really just enjoyed it. Up until then, I had pretty much been playing the leads and stuff, and obviously, very grateful. There's nothing to complain about, but to kind of be able to play a secondary character where you're not, there's not as much kind of responsibility on you. You're like,
Hmm.
ooh, this is nice. I like it. So yeah, I had a really, really good time. Everybody in the cast was awesome and super fun. And I just remember it being a haul out to somewhere in Riverside County and hot as hell.
Well, the film in Africa was Bush Shrink. You get to work with Craig Wasson of
Hmm.
Body Double, Nightmare on Elm Street, Three Dream Warriors, and he was also in Ghost Story. You get
Yeah.
to work with Charles Napier, of course, who was in the Blues Brothers, among other things.
Yeah.
Talk about that experience.
Craig Wasson played my love interest in. They ended up calling it Trackers, I thought, at the end when they released it, at least in Asia. And Charles Napier, I ended up being really good friends with. Ironically, he is a country western singer and plays guitar. And that scene of going to work in South Africa is such an amazing experience because they flew us over there just like everything first class. South Africa at that point you couldn't do a direct flight, so I flew from here to New York, from New York to Antwerp, from Antwerp to Kinshasa, in Kenya, and Kinshasa to Johannesburg. And when you landed, it's just all so crazy and grand. I believe it was an Israeli production company that funded that movie, and basically we stayed for about a week or something doing rehearsals and kind of doing makeup and hair fittings and stuff like that, and then ended up going to an area that's called the Transvaal, in a city called Mahalisburg, in northern South Africa, north of Johannesburg, northeast of Johannesburg. And we ended up shooting on a diamond mine that was absolutely fascinating to experience that. And if I remember right, the story is I'm Charles Napier's daughter. And I did this movie like 4 times over there. I was Charles Napier's daughter. He's a multimillionaire. I get kidnapped. Craig Wasson is my tracker, who ends up being my love interest. So there you go. You don't have to watch it now because that's the story. And it was great. I mean, it was such an incredible experience to shoot out in the middle of nowhere in South Africa. I absolutely fell in love with the country and the people. Very friendly people in all the different kinds of cultures. There's 27 different tribes in South Africa, all super fascinating individually. And yeah, so I loved shooting out there. When I went back to Johannesburg after the end of the shooting of that show, an agent approached me and said, you have an American accent. You could work here for a decade and be busy. And I was like, really? Oh. Hmm. So I fell in love with the country, and there was a lot of work there, and so I ended up staying.
Well, I love African wildlife. That's
I didn't know that.
my DJ name is the Python Hyena.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
Um, did you go on any safaris? Tell me about any of the animals you saw there. That I have to hear about.
Um, you know, uh, so I didn't go on any safaris, but we were out in the wild. I mean, in that movie, I think there was a scene where, and I'm trying to remember which movie it was, but I think it was that movie. There was a scene where Craig Wasson was tracking me, but I didn't know he was tracking me, and I encounter a cheetah in the forest while I'm trying to escape the kidnappers.
Hmm.
Yeah, some kind of unbelievably fulfilling female character like that. And so I'm running, and the cheetah's chasing me, and I totally, and because of the way that it happened, there was supposed to be like this, cheetah attack kind of scene or whatever. Um, but I ended up loving this cheetah, and the cheetah loved me. And so it would come over to me, and there would be a guy, behind a tree with a chicken trying to make it look like vicious to me. And it would walk up to me and just like start purring and like, you know, and it would grab because they get a lot of scent from your hair. So it would start just grabbing my hair and just, oh, cut, can you make the cheetah look tough, for God's sakes? Um, so that was one of the most incredible experiences of all of my time in Africa, was that experience with those couple cheetahs that we
Hmm.
couldn't make look mean, because they were just so loving and affectionate. We just couldn't make them look like they were chasing me. I think they cut something together, separate from me. Made it look mean or something when I wasn't in the shot. But that happened, and we were, right there in the Transvaal River, and there's crocodiles, and there's a lot of stuff. Giraffes are the most incredible, most what's the word? Kind of like Zen, characters. I found out lots of interesting things, like, what's the animal that has killed the most people on the continent of Africa? And it's like, I don't know. Like, is it lions? It's like, no, hippos.
Hippos. Yep.
Hippos. So isn't
I
that the
knew the
craziest
answer to
thing?
that.
Oh, I should have let you answer. I'm so sorry.
I knew that the answer was hippopotamus. Yep.
It's crazy, right?
Hmm. Yeah, I watch African wildlife videos on here and on YouTube, and it's amazing sometimes how stupid people can be.
Yeah.
Because I watched a guy try to make an elephant move off the road with his Range Rover. He even charged the elephant and then stopped. The elephant had no, not only did the elephant not move, he moved him in the Range Rover out of the way with great ease.
Yeah. Yeah. The African elephants, come to find, because I shot with a couple of them, those are the ones you don't actually want to mess with. The Indian elephants are actually much easier to get along with, and African elephants also will be if you don't aggravate them. But they have a temper, and
Hmm.
so they will randomly get mad at you, and some people are not sure why. So yeah, so snakes. I learned a lot about snakes. Uh, there's an incredible snake park right outside of Johannesburg that I went to a couple of times. I actually was never a fan of snakes, but I learned
I
so
love
much.
snakes.
Of course you do. That's why I'm mentioning it. But I went out there and actually was super educated. There are only like maybe 10 snakes in the whole world that actually will pursue you. For the most part, snakes are really trying to get away from humans. I learned that absolutely. And of course, the black mamba is one of those in South Africa
Yep.
that will actually come after you. And so, there's kudu, there's Cape water buffalo. They're actually very
Cape
aggressive.
buffalo, yeah. They've
Yeah,
never been domesticated. I
no,
once saw a Cape buffalo, a video of a Cape buffalo and a male lion in a fight to the death. Both of them died due to their injury, but the lion died first.
yeah.
Oh
They're not,
yeah.
they're not fooling around. Everybody in South
No.
Africa knows to stay away from those Cape buffaloes. They're
Yeah.
not messing around. So yeah, and then there's a lion park too out there, and so got a chance to to hang around with some baby lions, and I mean it's just craziness. The thing that South Africa actually did do the right way. Is during apartheid they actually started a really vehement conservation program,
Hmm.
way more, what's the word? Way more effortful, I think, than the United States has. As an example, they started something called Kruger Park back in the day. That the Dutch part of them did
I
actually.
think I heard of that. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's the idea that of the San Diego Wildlife Park, where you actually drive around in their environment.
Hmm.
They're not caged. It's a much more environmentally friendly way of doing a safari. You just stay in your car. It's a good idea. The baboons are pretty aggressive, and we would often have to stop filming because they would find us shooting up in the mountains in Mahalisburg, and they would just try to attack the film crew. So we knew to scatter back to the trailers when the baboons showed up. So yeah, Kruger Park is a really amazing, and there are a series of them in South Africa in the areas that even used to be like Lesotho used to be in South Africa, and all those areas have pretty incredibly aggressive conservation programs already in place. So it's a great thing.
It's interesting because I know somebody, a family that actually went on the Kruger National Park. Um, oh, what am I thinking? Why am I? What do they call them when you go through Africa?
It's not safari. What are you saying?
Safari. I
Okay.
was that was right on the tip of my tongue, and I said it
Yeah.
already earlier in this interview, but they got a video that was pretty funny. There was this leopard, and it just reminded me of my cat.
Uh huh.
It was hunched down. I've seen my cat do this with little toy mice.
Yeah.
You know, he was hunched down. You could see the tail, going, and there was a warthog, and it would creep up, go duck down, creep up a little bit, duck down. It would wait. It got right up to the warthog, and it sniffed its hindquarters, and the warthog bolted. The leopard just sat there like, "What'd I do?"
Right. He must not have been that hungry. That leopard.
Oh, I thought that was funny. That was funny.
They say that all cats, no matter their size, are actually really similar in behavior.
Hmm.
And I do find that to be true. They really are very interesting. But really, from domesticated cats to lions, their behavior is all very similar.
Did you see spotted hyena?
Did I see a hyena?
Yeah.
Yeah, oh, I definitely did. They're everywhere. They're a it's a big population there, and yeah, they're fascinating creatures. I mean, they're the noises they make, and also
Yeah.
the noises that zebra makes. Like
Oh
people think
yeah.
zebras make like a noise. They don't neigh like horses.
Hmm.
And so yeah, that's something you're like, what sound is that? And they're like, oh, that's the zebras. You're like, really? Okay, good to know.
Did anything come close enough, like anything that was potentially harmless that you were able to pat?
Like I said, the cheetah interaction was amazing.
Hmm.
I went to the lion park, was able to like hold and pet little baby lions, which probably isn't a great thing now in retrospect.
Hmm.
Um, but for the most part, I was born and raised on a farm,
Hmm.
so I'm not one of those people who really goes out of my way to try and interact with wild animals, because I know wild animals. You know what I mean? It's like
Hmm.
it kind of isn't a great thing if you're able to. It's not great. So yeah. So other than those two, I really kind of didn't go to an effort to do that. And like I say, Kruger Park is not a safari in the typical sense of the word. You are by yourself, just in your rental car, just driving through what is their area. We're visitors in their area rather than the opposite.
Did you see ostrich?
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh, are they fast? They are so
They're
fast.
the second fastest creature to the hyena, or not hyena,
Cheetah.
cheetah. Yep.
It's unbelievable when you see them, because they are such a bizarrely put together animal. And then to see them just streak across the high veld, you're just like, what was that? And they're like, oh, that's an ostrich. And you're like, it looked like a race car. I mean, it's craziness. So yeah, they were pretty spectacular. All of the animals there are just like bigger than life. Um, and you really get the sense when you're there, like you are a visitor in their environment. So there's so few people per capita than there are like in Los Angeles, obviously, but in general, there's very few people per capita in South Africa compared to the animals. So you're there, visiting. Hmm.
And you mentioned conservation. Obviously, one of the animals that they're trying to protect, of course, is the rhinoceros. Did you
Yeah,
see any? Yeah.
they have a very active white rhino breeding program just outside of Johannesburg, and I think it is still. I think the one that passed away 6 months ago, the male that passed away 6 months ago, I think was the last wild white rhino, if I'm not mistaken. So I think they still have a program going in Johannesburg, and again, they spend a lot of time and energy and money with white rhinos, with lions, with even by the ocean. They have a large coast in South Africa that stretches from Natal, which is the area over by Durban, all the way up to Namibia. And I actually did a movie in Namibia too, while I was there. And that ocean is very protected, and the creatures inside it. So it's really fascinating that they've spent so much effort really conserving their resources.
Like one of the most beautiful animals in Africa that I know of, and I don't know if they were in Kruger National Park. I know they're in Kenya. This is sable antelope. Those
Oh,
are beautiful.
I don't know if they're in Kruger Park or not, actually. That'd be worth looking up. I don't know the answer to that, but they are gorgeous.
Because in the sunlight, they kind of look like they're purple.
Yeah.
The males do. They look like a purple color. They have these saber-like horns, but they're a black and white antelope. But they get the sunlight on them just a certain way. There's a purple gleam, and I think that's fascinating.
Yeah.
Did you see sables when you were there?
I don't remember specifically having seen them. There's actually so many herds of kudu and all kinds of horned animals. Honestly, that would be hard for me to remember. I'm sure I saw one, but I don't remember it if I did. Because
Wow.
there's a lot of them. There's a lot of different kinds, and there's a lot of population, which is great. So.
And they have the second longest snake in the world, which is the African rock python. And I have seen video of them actually eating an impala.
Oh my God.
Oh yeah.
Wow. Yeah,
Yeah.
they're serious about, they always say Australia has the most poisonous animals, and Tasmania, but South Africa has the most like dramatic animals for my money. It's just incredible, those gigantor giraffes going around, and yeah, all of it's just extraordinarily beautiful. You got to get over there. You got to. You would love
Yeah.
it.
Oh, I watch a lot of African wildlife videos on YouTube, and
Mhm.
far and none, it's just great stuff. Like even the funny stuff with the meerkats and all that stuff. It's all funny stuff.
Yeah.
So, I enjoy those. Gotta get on to your other films, but I
Oh
had to
yeah.
ask you about the wildlife in Africa. I'm like, you mentioned Africa, I had to mention it.
No, it's amazing that you studied it so much. Actually, it is really fascinating.
Now, you were in a movie called Enemy Unseen, which is interesting because I just recently had Vernon Wells on the show.
Oh, you're
Uh,
kidding.
yeah, I met Vernon Wells at Horrorama 2017. So
Okay.
I got an autographed picture of him as from the Road Warrior, and I've got a picture with him. If you look on my Facebook or my picture section,
I did not see that.
yeah. But I interviewed him in 2018, and then I became a co-producer on Social Distance, which was a film shot during the pandemic, and it's completely just people on a screen.
Uh-huh.
And it turned out to be a really fascinating movie. And he's in it, and I had him back on. It was let me see, it was the second of this month, so 4 days ago. I had Vernon Wells on.
What? Do you know that we are still best buddies
Oh
all these years
yeah.
later? Yes. I mean, I saw he and his wife Grace, I'm going to say 3 weeks ago.
Uh-huh.
We hang out, we go to dinner, we hang out at their place. Vern and I were actually roommates when I first moved back from South Africa to Los Angeles. We hung out together for, God, I don't know, a decade or something. And yeah, we're still actually really good buddies. He and his wife came to see the band on July 10th when we played at Vitello's.
Mm-hmm.
We're still really good buddies. He's an
Yeah.
awesome guy.
Yeah. Well, my first con was in 2017. I had Canadian actress Lisa Langlois on the show
Hmm.
twice. And on the second time, we were talking about travel. And she asked what was stopping me. Because I'd never traveled outside New Brunswick before, other than PEI, Prince Edward Island.
Uh-huh.
I'd never traveled. And she made me an offer I couldn't refuse. She invited me to assist her at Horrorama 2017. I
Hmm.
couldn't say no to that.
Right.
And I'm the only one in my family who's been on a plane. and I ended up falling in love with Toronto. And one of the people I met at that Horrorama was Vernon Wells.
That's craziness.
Yep, yep. So and he remembered me, and I had him on again this year, and great guy. He plays
Yeah.
a lot of villains, but a great guy.
Isn't that funny? He's the biggest teddy bear and the sweetest man ever. It's just ironic that he plays villains because I don't even know how he knows how to do it. He is the biggest sweetheart in the world. So yeah, that's acting for you because he truly is the nicest man.
Oh yeah. Well, when I had him on Zoom 4 days ago, I held up the picture that he had signed for me. You know, it said, "You can run, but you can't hide." It was for him from the Road Warrior. But I kept asking, I said, "When are you going to bring that mohawk back?"
Right? Exactly.
But yeah, oh, I'm glad you're still connected with him because again, I've got nothing but good things to say about Vernon. I really like the guy.
Yeah. And aren't you doing another con in the near future here?
Frightmare in the Falls. Yep.
Okay, what's the date on that? So just so the nice folks know when you're going to be there.
October 29th. I'm going to fly out there on the 28th because I always connect with Lisa when I go down there. She was in the movie Class of 1984.
Okay, got it.
Happy Birthday to Me, and she's worked with John Huston and people like that. She and I have remained friends. You know, to the point we even send each other Christmas gifts on at Christmas time, you know.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yep, she and I have remained friends, and I always save all my free movies because you go to enough movies, you get enough points.
Yeah.
So I've got over 20 free movies, and I always save them for Toronto. And Lisa and I, because Toronto's got different theater experience than here.
Of course, yeah.
So I always tell Lisa, I said, find some movies that you want to see, and we'll go. You know, and so she and I have became great friends, and she taught me about how to use the subways and the streetcars. We don't have that stuff here.
Right. How would you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She taught me all that stuff, and it's just been wonderful because I've known who she was since the 80s, but it's nice kind of knowing her as a friend, you know. And so anyway, Horrorama is canceled this year, not because of COVID. It's because when restrictions loosened, they just didn't have time to book anybody.
Right.
But Frightmare in the Falls is going on, and Lisa suggested I do that one.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, I'm going to try that one out. And they do have some really good guests that are supposed to be there. So I'm like, yeah, I'll go to that one. And then I got some other friends I've interviewed that are going to be there, ones that aren't on the guest list, but they're going to have vendors there that I've met through Horrorama. Who I'm going to get to connect with again, which is really nice too. And yeah, one of the things Lisa and I plan to do though is go to the Toronto Zoo. Speaking of animals, because I've never been there yet. And
you got to go.
Yeah, so we went to the aquarium last time I was there. So that's what Lisa and I do when I go down there now. We go down there and it's just wonderful. And we went to all the Class of 1984 filming locations and stuff. And she's wonderful. So I look forward to seeing her when I go down there. I know she shot a couple of films this summer, so she's looking forward to coming on here and promoting them.
Yeah.
Yep. But I'm looking forward to seeing her, but there's a lot of other people I'm looking forward to seeing too. And out of the guest list, the only one I previously met and had on the show is Linnea Quigley. So I'm going to go see her again, but there's a bunch of others as well. So I look forward to that. But
yeah, you'll meet some new people.
Well, it's going to be October 29th and 30th. But I'm going to stay till the 4th of November. I like to stay a week and then come back here and go back to cleaning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'll be fun. It'll be a nice break.
Oh, I look forward to it. It's been too. That's the only reason I got vaccinated too, you know, because I haven't really seen the COVID thing around here. And where I work as a cleaner, I'm usually working by myself. So I'm not around a lot of people. So I know there's some people that are against being vaccinated. I don't judge people, teach their own, But I said to somebody recently, I said, I want to be able to travel. So I got both my vaccinations. I didn't have any side effects, although I ribbed my supervisor because she was wiped out for 2 or 3 days.
Yeah. Did
I
she
say,
get the
guess who showed up to work?
Did she get the same kind as you, the same brand?
Yeah, Pfizer. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my parents are both terminally ill, and they didn't have any side effects. So I'm like I get these people say the government's trying to root out and kill the weak. Well, if my parents got through this without any side effects, you can't get too much weaker than what they are right now.
Yeah.
One's got ALS and the other's got Parkinson's. I'm like, so
Yeah.
yeah. So I, I'm not against vaccination, and I get the people that aren't vaccinated. I get their arguments. I know people personally that are against being vaccinated because lack of study, lack of this, lack of that. But I'm like, I'm going to go do this because, I can't live in fear all my life. Yeah, it's been 2 years and I haven't had a vacation.
Right.
Yeah. My supervisor took a week off for vacation last year. And this is funny. She came back a day early and said she was bored midweek. Like,
That says a lot.
yeah, like you couldn't go anywhere,
Yeah. Yeah.
So I might as well work if I'm here, so
Yeah.
my cat takes all the days off.
Cats take every day off.
Oh, he's over there sleeping by my clothes basket right now.
Oh yeah, they got to get their 14 hours of sleeping in.
Oh, mine gets like well, they say lions sleep like, what is it, 21 hours of the day?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, I think my cat's got them beat.
Yeah, it's amazing how much sleep they get. I admire them for that. I do.
It's more than me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I look forward to that. And but yeah, I know Vernon Wells, and you did River of Diamonds is the last one mentioned here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
River of Diamonds was the one that I actually shot in Namibia. And we were in a little town called Luderitz, which is right on the coast, the Skeleton Coast, as they call it. And it was set in the 30s, the movie was. And I played a diamond specialist, like a gemologist, I guess. I'm not sure that's the right term. And it was a story of intrigue, and it was really fun. I mean, it was different from anything I had done up to that point, in the sense that it was so far away from our current period that they had to build all the costumes, and it was like the big 30s costumes and the big hats and the gloves, and so that part of it was really fun. It was and we shot a third of it or something at sea, so that's always interesting. If you have ever shot on the water, it's very difficult. First of all, to get away from all sight of land is fairly difficult, and also ships don't stay static, so you're shooting, and then you're shooting, and then you're looking at the land again, right, because it's turning and the waves move all the time. And also get seasick, so that was unfortunate. To kind of be like saying my lines and be like, oh god, I'm not going to make it. So but that's all part of the adventure, and it was really like, I don't know, 500 people, 600 people town. And it was absolutely fascinating. It used to be part of Germany, I think, and then it was called Southwest Africa, and so it has a lot of that and German national pride still, probably not as much now, but at that point it did. In other words, there was a parade on Hitler's birthday when I was there, as an example. So it was a really bizarre cultural experience because of that. And then on the other side of it, there's the Bushman and Hottentot kind of culture that is the original indigenous people in that area, and they have a fascinating story and how they survive in the desert with one drop of water every 6 months, and their culture is really fascinating. So it was all of that. And the shoot was fun, and we lived there in Luderitz while we shot, and so yeah, pretty interesting.
What moved you away from acting?
I came back I had been in South Africa for a super long time. I
Hmm.
came back and would have to kind of have restarted my career in front of the camera. And I was kind of in the process of doing that. And I got hired and I was looking for kind of work behind the camera just to
Hmm.
support myself while I was kind of waiting for the acting gigs to start back up. And I actually got hired to art department coordinate a movie called Apollo 13. And I was like, oh my God, now
Ron
this is really,
Howard.
now we're talking. And I was so inspired by that experience. I loved acting, and I did it for more than 10 years between the stage and film parts of it because I did theater for a long time. And I think I was just ready to try something new. Like I say, I was so inspired. Ron Howard is such an incredible man, and I was in such an amazing position on that show where I was doing so much research and interacting with astronauts. And I mean, it was insanely fun. And I kind of was like, oh, the art department's really fascinating. And so I kept, because I liked it so much, I kept on working, doing that job. And then finally I was like, oh, props, that makes sense to me. Props have so much to do with the character and so much to do with kind of the acting part of it and providing actors with what they need to kind of ground them in the scene. And so it was a natural kind of walk across for me. So yeah, that's how I ended up doing it.
Did you get to interact with Tom Hanks and the rest of the cast?
Tom Hanks is an absolute sweetheart, and he made cups that I still have to this day for Apollo 13, and it had pictures of the seal of the Apollo 13 seal and signatures of all the real astronauts who were on that flight. It was just an incredible, incredible. John Lovell, I think his name is the real
Hmm.
astronaut who wrote the book that it was based on, and he was there during the shooting. I mean, it would have blown your mind, this experience. Yeah, all the actors were spectacular. Everybody who worked on the movie was totally inspiring, and yeah, it's really a one of a kind experience having worked on that movie.
We're going to talk about some of your props department because I have. I remember I used to watch Full House when I was young. I haven't watched a lot of Fuller House because my TV is just set up to watch my Blu-rays. But I saw your credit on Fuller House, and I'm like, it reminded me my first autograph through the mail back in 1993, and I've still got them.
Nice job.
Yeah, Andrea Barber.
Gotcha.
Yeah, she used to. I got must have 3 or 4 autograph pictures of Andrea Barber,
Hmm.
and she always sent this little newslet thing out called the Barber Shop.
Right, right, right. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And I know you probably get asked about Candice Bergen and Bob Saget, but I'm going to ask about Andrea Barber.
You know what's funny? IMDb is a little bit tricky. I actually filled in. I covered for the prop master on that show for a
Uh-huh.
short period of time, like three
Mm-hmm.
weeks while he was out of town.
Uh-huh.
He was on a medical leave, and that is as much as I know about Full House or Fuller House. And
Mm-hmm.
Fuller House was the reboot. Didn't have all the original cast in it.
No.
And so, yeah, I can't tell you anything really about that experience because I was covering for somebody while they were out of town. So I really don't have any insider information on that one for you
Okay.
because I was
No.
just filling in.
Okay. Um, One movie that I absolutely love, I saw it 4 times in the theater,
Hmm.
was American Beauty. And I've interviewed Amber Smith from the
Hmm.
movie, and I've interviewed Reshma Gadger. I hope I got her name right. She was one of the dancers
Oh,
in
okay.
that famous scene in the gym. I love American Beauty. I went to that 4 times, and I'm not going to get into the Kevin Spacey situation, but I thought he was brilliant in this movie as Lester Vernon. You know, talk about American Beauty.
Okay. I was the second unit prop master on that, which meant
Hmm.
I was not there during the entire shooting. Linda Reese, a British prop master, was actually the prop master on that.
Hmm.
And so I was there for maybe about half of the shooting. I when you do second unit on a movie, when you're second unit prop master, you end up doing a lot of kind of inserts of stuff and stuff that they didn't catch when they were with the main unit. A lot of times
Mhm,
you wouldn't have the main unit actors. You'll have a model, hand person who's a hand
mhm.
stand-in for somebody, and that kind of stuff. So I mean, I remember it as being, as all movies are, just a little crazy and busy and a big cast and a lot of proppy stuff going on all the time. Pretty big, prop team if I remember right. And I think Kevin Spacey was pleasant, and I think
Mhm.
everybody else in the cast was super pleasant and fun. And and I just remember Conrad. Oh, what's Conrad's last name? The DP. I think that might have been his last movie. I'm not positive. And I remember his son, Conrad Jr., was on the movie, and they were both so lovely. So that's kind of what I remember about that movie. It was pretty fun. I think everybody in the cast was really nice, and we shot it on a lot of it on Warner Backlot. That's where that house was, and that's about it. All positive, nothing bad.
Mhm. And of course, you get a credit on here. You were assistant to Bridget Fonda on Point of No Return. I always thought Bridget Fonda was beautiful. I love Single White Female. I've interviewed the Materis twins, who were the twins you see at the beginning of the movie.
Hmm.
Yep. Um, they're all grown up now, but I always liked Bridget Fonda. Talk about working with her. Is she as lovely in person?
You know what I have to say? I actually did Single White Female and Point of No Return with her, and I was her like personal assistant. I drove
Okay.
her, so she and I got up at 4 a.m. and came to set together, and makeup and hair for however long, and then with her during the course of the day, and then drove her home and kind of ran her errands and did her stuff during the day a little bit. She was and is just an absolute consummate professional. She was a lovely woman. I don't think we ever had an unpleasant conversation. And I mean, it's hard to be pleasant at 4 in the morning on your way to work. It really is. So I was a PA basically.
Mhm.
And I ended up kind of really liking her on Single White Female. And like I say, she had an incredible work ethic. I think she's a very, very nice lady, and I think everybody who interacts with Bridget will tell you that she's a just absolute consummate professional. The coming from a legacy family like that, I think you're just so much under the spotlight. Um, and I think you suffer a little bit from being compared to other people in your family, and I think that's really tough.
Mhm.
It was an interesting experience for me because I guess I kind of thought, if you're from in like a legacy family like that, like somehow the process was easier. And the thing I really learned from that is even Bridget Fonda doesn't get to go home early. Everybody works those punishing hours, and as hard as everybody else, there's really no easy street in film production. So I just really liked her, and we did 2 or 3 movies together, and then I ended up going. I was kind of making a pittance, so I kind of had to, for the sake of finances, move on to something. I think it was art department coordinating from that. So that predated Apollo 13. And yeah, I really enjoyed her. We're not in touch as of today, but I bet she would remember me. She was dating Eric.
Stoltz.
Yeah, Eric Stoltz then, and they were a lovely couple. He's a very nice man. I've run into him a dozen times since then. Still super nice, cool guy. Um, and yeah, she's an awesome, awesome lady. And I met her dad. He was super cool and kind of kick back, and just a really, for being a Hollywood family, just a really nice group of people.
It's interesting because I love Single White Female, and of course the Materis twins. I was talking to them, and I had to ask them about the dynamic because I get to work with Bridget and of course Jennifer Jason Lee, of course, as well. I love Jennifer, and Jennifer and Bridget had an interesting dynamic, and I remember them saying, they said Jennifer was a bit reserved. They said that's not her being rude. She was just, I guess, somewhat method, but she was very reserved. But she said that Bridget was very chatty. So
She
Bridget was very
is.
chatty. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
she's very accessible as a human being, which again is hard to do because I think a lot of people, just want to kind of chat with you, and it's hard to get through your day, without being stopped and people wanting to chat with you. For that, she's a very accessible, very sweet, um, nice lady.
Well, my favorite sequence in Single White Female was the whole sequence where Bridget Fonda is tied to the chair. And you got a scene, and of course, she's got tape over her mouth, and Jennifer Jason Leigh, and they show that close up where she has the knife to her throat, and it's just
Hmm.
pressing.
Hmm.
What I love about this whole sequence is that Bridget Fonda, her character Allison, has to figure out how to get out of this situation and how to diffuse it. Because, of course, Jennifer Jason Leigh, wonderful, is a ticking time bomb in this movie, you know? Were you there during those sequences?
I was there every second of the day, but as a PA, kind of assistant type of
Mm-hmm.
person, you're not so much on stage. I
Mm-hmm.
would come in and out of stage, but I wasn't there for every second they shot every scene at all. But yeah, it was a very stylishly lit, photographed, costumed, very stylized movie, beautifully shot, beautifully lit. Um, and the costumes were extraordinarily beautiful. So I saw a lot of that, but no, I wasn't on, you're not near the camera when you're a PA.
You're not listed for Single White Female on here, though. I find that.
Well, I was a PA, so
Oh, you okay?
yeah,
Okay,
I'm probably listed as a PA somewhere.
okay, all right. Well, I like Bridget Fonda too, so
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
it's well deserved. She's a very, very nice lady. So
Mm-hmm.
it's good to know that sometimes when you are fans of people, they're also really fun and nice.
As I found out with Lisa Langlois.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Exactly.
and Vernon Wells, really.
Hmm.
Now we got to move into something very different because we got to
Okay.
talk about your music
Oh
because
yeah.
you're because I mean I discovered you through Sorority House Massacre. Actually, I didn't. How was it you come to contact me?
I think it's
Actually, it
Lorelai.
was Lorelai McBroom.
Yeah.
That was an interesting domino effect. That
Yes,
was a
exactly.
domino effect
It
because
was.
I had interviewed um, Dolly Reed Martin from Beyond the Valley of the Dolls.
Hmm.
Love that movie, and I always loved Dolly in it. You know, Dolly connected me with Marcia McBroom. Marcia, actually, I've had Marcia on again this year too.
Hmm.
Marcia connected me with Apache Ramos from the Warriors, who she's related to, and her sisters. And I've had all of her sisters. I've had Durga, I've had Laura. I hadn't had Dana. That's the only one I haven't had. But Lorelai connected me. She was the one that was asking me because here's the thing I come to find out is that a lot of podcasts, and I'm not trying to shit on other podcasters, but a lot of podcasts will not interview people who they don't know. And I'm like, who am I? Like, I'm not out there. I mean, I got my YouTube channel, but who am I? So, who am I to say no to somebody I don't know? It's funny because I had an Australian filmmaker reach out to me named David Black. Never heard of him, didn't know
Hmm.
anything he's done. Still to this day, I haven't seen anything he's done. But he asked me on my Facebook page if I interview Aussie filmmakers. I said absolutely, because I just
Hmm.
saw an interview opportunity. It's interesting because he said to me, he said the interview probably won't be any more than maybe half hour, you know. We ended up doing a Zoom for 2.5 hours.
Wow.
And I'm not trying to pat myself in the back, but it says a lot about how I can get a story out of somebody I've never heard of.
Right, right, right.
Yep.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'd never heard of Paul Literal.
Right.
I'd never heard of Brent Butterworth or Ron Siger.
Yeah. Siger.
And Siger,
Hard G.
Siger,
Siger. Yeah.
Siger. Never heard of them. But I'm gonna tell you, after interviewing Take Two, I'm glad I got them on there because man, I never knew how to insert video.
I know, what
See?
fun. Exactly.
But and I've said this to other podcasters, don't turn people down. Don't go after who you just think are the stars, who you think you're going to get hits on,
Yeah,
because the smaller people are going to remember you.
that's
They're
true.
going to remember you. And I've had a lot of those smaller people back on my show. TJ Doyle, I've had on the show 4 times. He's a musician out of Los Angeles. I was sent him my way through his then manager, who I'm still in touch with. I've had TJ Doyle on every year since, 4 times
Right,
so far. His first
right.
Zoom this year. And one of the reasons I always have him back is because he always gives me a thumbs up on Facebook or says something. I'm like, he's interested in what I'm doing. So it's like,
Right.
how can I not be interested in how he's doing? How can I not have him back? It's like a party. And it's like, well,
Exactly.
this person will come. Let's invite him again, you know?
Right, right.
And I know Scotty McCoy, who does a podcast called Slasher Scotty, he does interview anybody as well. Mainly people in horror films, but he has branched out a little bit. But I always tell people, don't turn people down. Because I think a strength of a good interviewer is getting a story, even if you don't know who the person is.
That's true. That's very true.
And before Lorelai connected us, I didn't know who you was. It wasn't until you mentioned Slumber Party Massacre.
Sorority House Massacre.
Oh, it's those names. They needed to rename that movie.
Oh my goodness, that's funny.
Oh my goodness. Call Angela's Nightmares.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Exactly.
Oh my goodness. I'm sorry.
No problem.
Sorority House Massacre. And I
Uh-huh.
watched it on here because I wanted to get a little bit of an idea of you as an actress.
Mm-hmm.
Because I knew that would be great in conjunction as you as a musician as well. Because you sing as well, right?
Right. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Did you always sing all your life?
Well, you know what? It's funny that you should ask because I was always kind of a what do they call it? Like a double, double tag or something. Uh, and I always was in music. I started playing the oboe in 3rd or 4th grade, and I played classical music for 20 years. And in the meantime, at the same time, kind of got interested in the acting thing. But I had always been doing music alongside it. I remember back in the day when I was auditioning in LA, and we actually, I was one of the people who auditioned for Fame because I was the triple threat, singer, dancer, actress. So
The
everything that was
movie or the
TV show.
what TV show? I interviewed Antonia Franceschi from the movie.
Oh yeah, yeah.
She
That
was,
movie was shot in New York though, so I wouldn't
but
have a chance on that one.
I used to watch the TV show,
Yeah, me too.
but I got the movie, and I've interviewed Antonia Franceschi, who was the ballerina who ended up getting pregnant.
Yes,
I've had her on here a couple times, and she still teaches ballet.
she's a beautiful dancer.
She's beautiful. Oh
I
my,
recently saw that movie actually, and I was like stunned again at how what a beautiful dancer she is.
yeah,
Um,
and she still does this.
yeah, amazing.
Yeah,
Good for
yeah,
her.
yep.
So I always did music in conjunction with the acting thing. It's really not much of a left turn for me. And so basically kind of like, still doing the acting, still doing film production, end up doing props, and then still love the music part of it. And when I was growing up, my dad was teacher,
Mm-hmm.
and when he would correct papers at night, he would play like Stan Kenton, Buddy Rich, and all the big band players and stuff. And I encountered a big band in Los Angeles kind of, just by chance. It was like, oh my God, I love the sound of this music. And it was so it's such a throwback for me to listening to that music as I grew up in our living room playing for my dad playing it. And so somebody asked me to sit in with a big band, so an 18-piece big band. And I was like, oh, sure, why not? And so basically, from there, like I kept sitting in and the bands kept calling me back, and I kept finding kind of new levels of the music and stuff like that. And It's a niche music for sure. In that way, it means there's very few people who follow it, and there's no way to make money in it, not a chance. But it is really amazing music, complicated music for I think all musicians appreciate that music, from the standpoint of of how intricate it is, and so I started talking to some of the guys I was singing with, and I said, it seems like if we had a smaller group, we'd be able to fit into more venues, and it would just be kind of like easier for all of it. And they were like, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. And basically, Angela O'Neill and the Outrageous Eight and a big band octet began then.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, so you do that, but you also got a nice connection with some other artists, like the previously mentioned ones. How did you meet Paul Literal and Brent and Ron?
So that all came out of so pandemic hit. Sadly, we were just kind of getting impulsion as a group, and we had 2 or 3 gigs a month kind of out in the clubs in Los Angeles, and
Mhm.
that all stopped immediately. So we had to kind of reinvent ourselves. And when we were talking, we were kind of like, we like everybody in this group. So Ron Seiger is one of the Outrageous Eight, and Paul Literal is one of the Outrageous Eight. They both play in the band.
Mhm.
And we were talking about the fact that they really hadn't done solo projects during the course of their careers. And I said, well, I would love to produce them. Would you guys be interested in wanting to do those projects together? And they said, yeah. So basically, we started Outrageous Eight Records with members of the Outrageous Eight band doing solo projects. And that's how that came about, really.
Do you find competition with the Hateful Eight?
I don't. Definitely not. That
I
would be
would.
the opposite end of the spectrum.
um, I was telling them when I interviewed Brent and Ron that we got talking about jazz, and I've interviewed 3 of the Blues Brothers band.
Oh, cool.
Oh yeah, and we got talking about that. Have you ever worked with any of the Blues Brothers band?
No,
No.
I don't think so.
No, I'm honored I had 3 of the 3 of those boys on here, but
Amazing.
yeah. But we talked about that because they were talking about jazz and blues, and that was immediately what came to mind was, of course,
Yeah.
the Blues Brothers. Um, but yeah, so is making music, that's your main passion nowadays, right? Or do you still do film production?
No, I still do film production.
Mhm.
Again, can't make any money in jazz, really, sadly. So it's awesome, and we're very productive. I have four records in the hopper right now.
Mhm.
Paul, Ron, and Brent, Catherine Hopkins, and the Outrageous Eight are actually releasing a record towards the end of this year. So we have
Mhm.
lots of records being made. But no, I keep prop mastering. I really still enjoy it. I just finished a movie that's kind of secret this last Thursday in the 8 a.m. finish time, wrap time. We've been working on it for about 2 months, I think.
Mhm.
And I finished a movie before that called Evolution, where we shot in Charlotte, North Carolina, on a big movie that was a longer type of thing. So it was about 4 or 5 months of production. Yeah, so I regularly work on the movie part of it, and kind of on my off time, I do the music as well.
Wow.
I know.
Yeah. So,
I'm busy.
well, I know you sing. Is there any musical instruments that you like to play? Is there anything you have a passion for?
Well, like I say, I started in wind instruments. So I played the oboe, flute, sax, all of those for the first 20 some odd years of my life. And then when I started to get to the point where I had to decide whether I was going to play classical music all my life or not, I kind of was veering off into the singing part of it, because that made more sense with acting, to do musical theater. So I kind of haven't really done the wind instruments since my mid 20s. And it's mainly been, like, since I'm the band leader of the Outrageous Eight, I actually keep very busy doing that part of it, doing new arrangements, taking care of all the charts, getting the band gigs and recording albums. It's quite a bit of work. When we do Danny Boy, I do play the penny whistle, but I'm not sure I would call that a passion. But I am Irish, so maybe it is.
You go get the other people from Sorority House Massacre together and do the Sorority House 8.
That's right. That's right. That's what we're gonna do. Yep. We'll definitely have to have a get together someday.
I had fun talking to Brent and Ron, and they were, like I said, it's the first time. And kudos to Ron Seiger. Kudos, because I know you had asked me about inserting video in my Zoom, and I didn't want to let you down and disappoint you, but I had no idea. Like he knew how to do this, and I was mesmerized by the videos and how they did it was so little, like did it on the iPhone and this and
Yeah.
that, and I was like, and they were a lot more critical of themselves, but I'm like, look, I cameo in 9 James Balsamo movies, and I've
Hmm.
never left here to do it.
Right.
One of those movies played at the Chinese Theater in Los Angeles.
Uh-huh.
So I was seen on that screen, and I've never been there. But I'm in
Right.
scenes with Eric Roberts because he's watching me on a television, and I
Oh,
never
I
met the
see.
guy. I never met the guy.
That's
So
funny how that works.
it's funny how that works.
Yeah.
So and trust me, my performances in these movies are nothing compared to what I saw with what they did. You
Oh,
know.
they're brilliant videos. And the band, I don't know if you have been on our Facebook page or our YouTube channel, but
Hmm.
Angela O'Neill and Outrageous 8 Records is our YouTube channel. And
Hmm.
I'm gonna say we've done 10 videos during the course of the pandemic, 8 to 10. And so basically what we did was we were like, okay, we can't do anything. We zoomed every Saturday, the band, and we'd
Hmm.
say, hey, what about this chart? What do you feel about doing that one? So I would email everybody the charts. They would record themselves, like you say, on a cell phone.
Hmm.
And our super genius video cutter slash producer, Michael Rosen, would take those pieces, mix the audio. He and I would produce the audio together, and then he would cut the video together in what he likes to call like the Brady Bunch format. So you would see the heads of everybody playing their instruments while the music is going. It's quite an endeavor, actually. It's really difficult to do, but yeah, check it out. We have done at least 10. In fact, we just did one of a new arrangement of Stardust about 3 weeks ago. We finished one, and so that's a really fun one too. Next time you and I have to insert video, it's gonna be great.
Sure, sure, we could do that.
We have those.
Yeah. Well, they're saying in one there that they had a green screen. They were outside and they did it.
Yes.
I think it was outside. Then the green screen was basically Ron's house or something like that.
Yeah.
And I told them, I said, you should do this outside Angela's house and then see how she reacts.
Exactly. Put up a big green screen and they're just playing outside. Um, yeah, those guys, I never know what they're going to do. So I wouldn't be surprised at all.
Oh, there, I just gave them ideas.
Exactly. Exactly. Well, we're all in each other's house. We're a big family. The Outrageous 8 family is a big family. We're in
Mhm.
each other's houses all the time, hanging out, doing stuff, rehearsing together. Yeah, it's been a couple, 5, 6 years now. We've been doing all of this and playing out and really recording albums and all of that. So yeah, we're really good friends. It's really
Mhm.
fun.
Yeah, well, I'm glad to be able to do this because the pandemic has just been a total trip for everybody,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and musicians have had a hard time with it. I know a band I'm going to see when I go to Toronto because I've
Hmm.
been friends with them since that first Horrorama called Blood Opera,
Hmm.
and they used to get decked out in their they would not perform during the pandemic, but what they would do is they get decked out in their monstrous costumes and they would live stream their concerts.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yep. And they had a lot of fun with that because I remember the wrestling manager Jim Cornette came on to Chris Jericho about this. Apparently Chris Jericho and his band Fozzy performed during the COVID, and let's just say Jim Cornette gave Chris Jericho a new name, Jerichovid.
Yikes. That's a new hyphen you don't want.
Yeah, it's like don't these people that don't take it seriously, and I haven't seen it around me, but just taking precautions. But I like what that you're able to keep yourself busy and able to to keep doing this and able to still have that connection,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
So important, and it took everybody wanting to partake in it. I could have come up with all the ideas I wanted. If everybody else didn't step up and put their energy forward and record the parts and all that, we couldn't have done it. So it takes a village, which is such a trite way of saying it, but it actually is totally true in this case. In any creative endeavor, it really does take everybody pushing the rock up the hill the same way for it to work.
Do you have any charities that you want to plug and promote on here?
Oh my gosh, yes, I do. I am in the process with Jackie Gibson, one of the singers who sings with the Outrageous Eight. She's a guest singer with us. She and I are starting a charity called Jazz del Corazon. And Jazz del Corazon's main mission statement is really, and the pandemic really allowed me to explore wanting to do this. But I really, its goal basically is to educate kids, to inspire them, to get them to interact with real professional musicians doing their thing. One of our plans in the future is to go out to boys and girls clubs, underserved populations, and let them meet, interact, and ask questions. If somebody's 8 years old and they think, I really want to be a musician, but how does that work? How do you make a living at it? How does that work? I want them to get the opportunity to meet people and actually have that interaction. So that's really and the secondary mission part of it is that I hate to say it, but I really feel like musicians kind of get short shifted a little bit. I feel like people in general don't realize how much it takes to put together musical endeavors. As an example, we go out to clubs a lot of times, and I think people get the impression that, like, one little rehearsal and then you basically go out to a club. No, we rehearse for one show probably 8 weeks in advance, and that's stuff that generally speaking, I don't think that people understand how much work it takes to put together musical endeavors. So one of our goals is to try and encourage the idea culturally of paying musicians. I think there's a habit amongst people that music should be free, and it actually takes a lot of study, a lot of money, a lot of rehearsal to put all those things together. So that's kind of the secondary mission of Jazz del Corazon, is to kind of educate people as to really how much it takes to put together things musically, how much education it takes. And then the secondary thing is hopefully we can pass that on to some of the younger generation of people who might be inspired and, kind of be pen pals or whatever, kids kind of need. So yeah, we are on Facebook at Jazz del Corazon. If anyone would like to follow us there, and also our website is the way it's on the website. Jazz del Corazon which is Angela May O'Neill, MAE O'Neill.com. And if anybody wants to sign up with their email, then they'll find out the programs that we're doing for the bands and the various artists, and also for Jazz del Corazon.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Where are the places that you love performing best?
Oh my gosh, honestly, some of the things that we've done for charities are so inspiring. Some of the clubs that we like in Los Angeles, we just played at the Catalina about a month and a half ago. We love Catalina Club. We did a charity for them during the pandemic, October of 2020. We actually put together a charitable show with the band, which we live streamed, and people contributed to keeping that club alive. We actually have a pretty regular show now also at another really fun club in Los Angeles called Vitello's. Vitello's has been there since the late 1940s. It's in Studio City, and we play there. We do a Sunday big band brunch, and a lot of the people who like big band and a lot of production people are kind of like challenged to come out on a weekend night, especially Sunday night, because Monday's actually a work day for most people. So a Sunday big band brunch just made sense to all of us. Some of the folks who come to the shows actually played in some of the big bands, were the players with Stan Kenton or Buddy Rich or any of the folks whose charts were kind of doing some of those. And so it's really, really fun. So Vitello's, we do that one. We're doing another one on October 17th. And for those people who aren't in Los Angeles, we actually live stream that show as well. Like, you just go to vitellos.com, VITELLOS.com, and you can buy a live stream ticket and watch us live on that Sunday, October 17th.
Ah, nice.
Yeah.
So you never ever, even back when you were really young, you never ever got nervous performing? Do you remember that very first time you ever performed?
I have to say, I have not been a person who, in general, like suffers from stage fright or
Mm-hmm.
whatever you want to call that. The oboe is a really hard instrument to play, and
Mm-hmm.
so I think my concentration then, since that was kind of my one of my first kind of performance things, was really just to play it because it's so hard to play. And so I was just really concentrating on that. I never really I mean, I didn't want to mess it up, right? So that was where my energy was just on playing it correctly, trying not to screw anything up, which you always do anyway. Screw something up in a performance. And maybe because that was my first instrument, it was so incredibly challenging to play. I think that kind of got me in the habit of really just concentrating on the thing that's in front of you, rather than thinking if someone else is judging you, because that's what makes people I think, have stage fright, is they think that other people they're gonna mess something up and they'll be embarrassed. But I was always just like about the task at hand, kind of, and I think that distracted me from being nervous. I don't know.
Who were your musical influences?
Oh my gosh, so many. I don't even know. I mean, I this last show we did was Nat King Cole show.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm very inspired by Nat King Cole, by his singing, by his story as a man. Such an amazing accomplishment that he did in his life to become as popular as he did, an African American in that time in history is almost impossible. Um, I love Peggy Lee. I love Ella. I love Billie Holiday. I love, like I say, some of the instrumentalists, Dan Kenton. Uh, uh, there's so many. I can't even, like. Of course, now that I say that, I'm like completely dumbstruck. Frank Sinatra is a total, incredible singer with incredible style. And who do you like of that era, actually? Are you a fan of that kind of music?
I like the Blues Brothers.
That's pretty close.
I like the Blues Brothers. Did you ever see Walk Hard, the Dewey Cox story?
I did not.
Well, that has got all kinds of different music in it, but there's a section where there's jazz and blues. It stars John C. Riley,
Oh yeah.
and it's a parody of all those music biopics,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay.
where there's the tragedy when he's young, and the
Right.
father he can't please.
Right. 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 Right.
I would recommend it. It's a parody, but I love the fact that created their own character.
Mm-hmm.
So John C. Riley plays this character Dewey Cox.
Got it.
Yep. And it's hilarious.
It sounds like a good one.
It's hilarious. And I recommend that, but he goes through the jazz and blues, he goes through punk, he goes through rock and roll, he goes through the Bob Dylan era.
Right.
He goes through everything right up to his old age. And I think that was a great one in terms of all the musical styles that were in it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
In terms, I don't know. That's a good question. I like all kinds of music.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, it was interesting during the Take Two interview. We all remembered what 8-track machines was. I was like, yeah, my parents still have one of those things.
Right. 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 Right.
Yeah, it's like
Hard to
Jurassic.
get it serviced.
It's like Jurassic Park in their house with that thing.
You could probably sell it for a ton of money now.
Well, I
It's an
better make sure
antique.
my parents never see this video. Hmm.
It's an antique.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
Hmm.
there, I spawned an idea here.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, yeah. See what I can score from that. My cat's over there. Yeah. Oh, my cat disappeared. I
Oh,
thought I thought he was gonna come over and introduce himself. Sometimes he
I know.
does
I would
that.
like that. Oh, darn it.
Yeah, yeah. Do you want me to get him?
Yeah, go get him.
I'm gonna go
wanna
get
see
my
'em.
kitty. Yeah.
Do it. Oh my God, how adorable your cat is. Hi, monsieur. Uh-oh, I think you're backwards. Oh, there you are.
There we are. Here we go. Skittles, say hello. Somebody wants to see you, Skittles.
Hi, Skittles. Skittles doesn't care about us at all.
Skittles is like, you're using me to get hits. You're using me.
There's gonna be a little something, little extra in your food bowl tonight.
Skittles, you don't clean the apartment while I'm gone. You stay here rent free.
That's right.
You sleep all the time. You're lazy.
Yeah.
So I'm going to have to exploit you a little bit.
Well, Skittles is very handsome.
Skittles, she says you're very handsome.
Yeah, he is. Look at him with this little half white nose.
Yeah, your half white nose.
Yep. All right, he's done with you. He's done with this interview.
You watch, he'll come over. Yeah, he's over here rubbing against my finger already.
Yeah.
Like, what did I get away from you for? What?
Exactly. Exactly.
All I have to do is shake that treat bag and he's back.
Oh yeah, yeah. Now he's
Oh,
your friend
yeah.
again.
Yeah. He's still rubbing against my finger. Like I'm angry, but I don't know why.
I'm not that angry. I'm not angry enough to resist food.
Yeah, I had sardines earlier, mustard sardines. He used to just follow me right around. I was like, it's about the only protein I got in the place here for me. So I was like, look, Skittles, I gotta have these.
Exactly. The
I
cat
mean,
can't have everything.
Your cat can't have everything.
Exactly.
There we go. Anything else you want to plug and promote on here before we close off?
No, I don't think so. I really appreciate the interview. I hope that the folks who are going to now tell me the name of the con you're going to again.
Oh, Frightmare in the Falls.
Frightmare in the Falls. Enjoy the interview and the little callback to Sorority House Massacre. And yeah, I think it's fun, super fun. So I'm super glad we got the chance to do this on our Labor Day.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Next year, I'd be more than happy to have you on, back again, see what kind of updates we have,
Yeah, we'll have
Yeah.
records and videos we'll put videos on. It'll be great.
We'll put videos on. Yeah, absolutely. We can do that. Now that I have a better idea of how to do that.
Exactly. We just got to call Ron Seiger and ask him again. How do you do that?
Well, you know what? I'm happy about that, something new.
Yeah.
Something new. So
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yep. No problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was happy to have you on today. Of course, Sorority House Massacre celebrating its 35th anniversary this year. 35 years.
Craziness.
And I guess your brother's still not invited over for Thanksgiving.
No, he's not.
No. But that's okay. You can always have Take Two and Paul and Lorelei. You
Yep.
can always have them over for Thanksgiving.
Exactly. That's what we'll do. A new family.
Yeah. How connected are you with Lorelei McBroom?
Well, Miles, she and Paul's son is out here in Los Angeles, and I'm getting to know him. And I think she lives primarily in New York, and I haven't been out to New York in a while. So we're not super connected because we are separated by the country. But she's an amazing artist, and I have heard her sing quite a bit, and she has a beautiful voice. And yeah, what an artist! Amazing lady.
Yeah. Well, you know what? It was wonderful having you come on here today and talk to me, and I appreciate the guests that you've sent on here. I'm happy to promote them, and yeah, my door is open. If you got anybody else that you want to send on here, by all means, I'll open my door to them. And
I love it.
Yeah, no problem.
Now, did you get a Take Two CD? We need to get you one of those so you can hear what those guys play.
Yeah, I don't have a CD player, but I can play it down at the station when it opens.
Okay, good. We'll do that.
Yeah.
So by that time, we'll have digital, and we'll do a digital upload to you.
Actually, you know what?
What?
It would probably work easier with a CD than it would with digital.
Oh, down there. Okay, got it.
Yep.
Got it.
Yep. Because I'm not sure on that process, but I've had CDs sent to me by guests before,
Okay.
and like actually Blue Lou from the Blues Brothers sent me a CD,
Oh,
and
fun.
so down there, I mean, they've got a turntable, they've got a CD player. I can play stuff down there. So
And now tell me again when you go back, just for the folks at home. When are you back at the station?
that's a good question.
Oh, okay. I thought it was set.
It's sometime this month. I gotta look at the last email in terms of the hours.
Mm-hmm.
So I usually do my live show down there Sunday nights.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm usually on there from 10 to midnight on Sunday night. I need to figure out when things are clear enough where I could just go down there and do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm not going down there tonight. Or no, this is Monday, isn't it?
This Monday. Yeah, yeah.
I had
Next
today
Sunday.
off. I get my days mixed up, you know.
I know, me too.
Yeah. But yeah, they've been playing repeats of my show since March 2020, you know. So luckily I had lots of stuff down there for them to play, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Gotta get going on some new stuff.
Well, I've got lots of new stuff to play down there.
I know, which is really cool. So yeah, people have to keep an ear out in this next month or so.
Mhm.
And yeah, send me whatever, and I'm happy to cross promote at our end.
Sure.
Make sure people listen whenever you come back in.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, cool.
Well, Angela, thank you so much for coming on here today. And if you guys do send a CD my way, I want you guys all to sign it.
Okay, absolutely.
Yeah.
That sounds awesome.
That's another reason I like physical media too, because I'll do a video where I unbox it on here.
Right. Oh, cool. Okay, that sounds
Yep.
fun. All right,
Yep.
very nice. All right,
Yep.
cool, man. Well, we'll get you that CD ASAP. I'll talk to the boys about that. And thank you so much for having me on. It was great to see you and kind of talk about Sorority House Massacre and all the fun, creative things since then and up till now with the Outrageous 8 family.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Keep in touch. And yeah, we'll do this again next year.
Sounds awesome.
Absolutely. You have yourself a wonderful day, and God
Thank
bless
you.
you.
God bless you back.
Thank you very much.
Bye. Thank you for having me.
No problem. The honor was all mine.
Okay, see you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.